Welcome back. Welcome back to the League of Hustlers, kicking off a fresh year, January 2022. Back at it again. You know what it is. I'm your co-host, HT.
I'm CD Barnes.
And again, this is the League of Hustlers. Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back to a whole new year. And today, we're going to be jumping back into a series that we kind of slacked off on, but we're just picking back up on it, and that is the LoH Book Club. And we started out with The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace B. Wattles. All right, and we want to just pick back up. We left off at chapter 4, so we're leading into chapter 5, right? In chapter 5, jumping right into it, you know, no slowing it down. Chapter 5 is called Increasing Life, right? Increasing Life, right? And we're just going to crash right through this mug, right into the new year, okay? Increasing Life. Let me share my screen real quick. And, you know, The Science of Getting Rich is one of those timeless books, man, that you just can't, you know, you can't put in words how powerful it is. And the more you read it, it's one of those books that you start seeing different things. And the more that you grow, you start, you know, falling into deeper levels of understanding in terms of what it's talking about. And this one in particular, this chapter in particular is called Increasing Life, right? And what we wanted to do with this book club is, by now you should have read the whole book, right? Because it's been a while since we talked about it. But what we do with the book club is just pull out some really interesting passages and, you know, just kind of expound on them a little bit to interpret it, you know, give our interpretation of it. And to hear your interpretation of it. So make sure that you subscribe, make sure that you like it, and make sure you leave a comment, right, about what this chapter means to you and what you got out of this chapter. All right, so one line that, you know, that opens it out, opens the chapter that immediately stood out to me, you know, as I started to read it, is this one right here, right? A seed dropped into the ground springs into activity, right? And that piece right there, I had to stop and think about it. Like, if you think about it, as soon as a seed hits the ground, right, it immediately goes into action. Right. Though we don't see it sprouting, we don't see, you know, something, the seed cracking open, we don't see any of that. But think about it. As soon as that seed touches the ground, and it realizes that it's in the ground, it immediately springs into action. The energy, right, starts combining or interacting, the energy from the seed with the energy from the earth. They're like, oh snap, it's a seed here. The seed is like, oh snap, I'm in a place where I'm supposed to start growing, right? And so that stood out to me. Then it says, and in the act of living produces 100 more seeds. Right? And think about how successful a plant is. Any type of plant. You plant one seed, right? Think about you plant one apple seed, right? That apple tree grows into a freaking whole tree that produces, it's no telling how many apples from that one seed, huh?
A whole orchard.
Yeah, a whole orchard. You know what I mean? And so think about how successful plants are, right? Plants are like super duper successful. Why? Because they focus on one thing and they just keep going. They just keep doing what they're designed to do. Then it goes on to say, and by living multiplies itself, it is forever becoming more. It must do so if it continues to be at all, right? And so what this is saying to me, in particular, is like, the purpose of life is to grow, right? And so a lot of people get depressed, they get anxious, you know, anxiety and all of this stuff, or they become complacent, right? And they don't want to grow, they don't want to exceed in life. But we got to understand that the whole purpose of life is to grow more, to be more, to do more, to experience more, right? As we get older, the more things that we can do. Right? You want to add anything to that, bro?
Yeah, actually, for me, I was gonna just say zoom out. For me, it's the literal first sentence. You know, to me, it's like a mind shift component that a lot of people have to get through. A lot of people they can't envision themselves being successful or prosperous. They think, you know, that we're supposed to just watch other people, you know, live out their dreams and accomplish their goals. But no, it's you. It's you too. It's you too. You know, just like H was just saying, man, it's a part of the process. The moment that the seed hits the ground, that is the beginning of the process of that seed turning into one tree or one plant that will then yield more seeds that will be spread throughout nature to, you know, develop even more seeds. And us, you know, we have that same opportunity.
Right.
And it's really just a mind shift and understanding that, you know, it's up to us, you know, number one, to actually get out here and plant those seeds. You know, those ideas that we're having, those are your seeds. Those are the things that you're planting. Those are the things that you're going to have to nourish and nurture, you know, in order to see that growth. But ultimately, you know, for me, this chapter is about, you know, more life and just understanding that, like, you know, it's like giving you permission. Like, listen, you can have all of the things you're thinking about. You know what I mean? The ideas, the growth, the success, you can be prosperous. There's nothing preventing you from doing that. In fact, look all around you. Life prospers in that way. It's
right.
cyclic. It's cyclic. You know, the spring comes, things grow, shut down for a little bit, take a break, and then there's growing season again. You know, everything has a season. It's supposed to work that way. But you do have the ability to do the same. It's actually your responsibility. If you're not growing, you're not living up to your potential. You should be growing.
Precisely.
You know, so, and that's exactly what we're all about here at the League of Hustlers, man. It's growth. And that's what this chapter is about. It's about growing. And it's just reaffirming that, like, yeah, you're supposed to be growing.
Right. Right. And a lot of times too, in a lot of religions, right, especially in our culture, you're taught somewhere, I don't know where, but it's like in some subsets of the culture, you are taught that, or it's kind of implied that pious is, or being pious is like is noble. You know what I mean? Like, or being poor is a good thing. You know what I mean? When it's actually not. You know, it's not a good thing to be poor. We got to get rid of that mentality, right?
Yeah, I think there's like a duality in that. You know, it's like you have to understand, I think, the point behind that. And like, for example, you know, if we want to go down that path, like look at like Job or whatever, you know, in the biblical component, you have Job.
Right.
Job is rich.
Right.
And then he loses everything. However, it doesn't change who he is as a person. It doesn't change where his heart lies.
Right.
Because he's not a servant to the things. He's not worshiping the things. The things don't make him. So at the end, he loses everything and he's fine, you know, with being who he is.
Right.
With having nothing. You know, it's fine. It doesn't make who I am. And then he gets all of those things back plus more. So I think there's a part, you know, where people kind of miss out on that. And I think the whole point of where that comes from is that it's easy to get caught, you know, being successful and prosperous, especially like materialistic and fame and things like that. It's easy for people to be pulled away from, you know, where they really should be growing. You know what I mean? Like, you know, where spiritually or in relationships or socially or internally for yourself, things like that.
Right. and that's a good distinction to make as well. When I speak of rich or poor, you know, I'm talking about like multiple aspects, right? And we had a whole episode where we talked about, when we talk about rich on this show, we're not just talking about materially. We're talking about spiritually. We're talking about health-wise. We're talking about mentally, right? Mind, body, and soul, right? We're talking about a 360 and approach, a holistic approach to riches, right? Not just material riches. Material riches are here today, gone tomorrow, right? But what about your health, right? If your wealth is here, your health is here today, gone tomorrow, it's an issue, right? Or what about your mental well-being, right? Your mental richness. If your mental richness is here today and gone tomorrow, it's an issue, right? And so just understand, and it's funny because that's also what this chapter talks about. And you'll see that in some of these other passages where it talks about, like, it's not enough to just focus on, or to just be focusing on the material riches, or also it's just not enough to just be focused on the spiritual riches, right? Because our life isn't just in the spirit realm, right? And it's also not enough just to focus on the mental side. You see what I'm saying? Like learning more and stuff like that and it says that it has to be a holistic approach, because that's what our lives are made of. It's made of the physical aspect, it's made of the spiritual aspect, and it's made of the mental aspect. And so you need to be rich in all of those things. And that's what increasing life is about, right?
We want it all, actually, and that's basically, I want it all. I don't want to just be, have the money, but not have the health. You know what I mean? It doesn't balance out. It's pointless, or exactly. If you're healthy, but you can't do anything for yourself or anybody else. You don't have any money to do anything. You know what I mean? Like you need to balance. You can't help yourself or anyone else if you don't have finance a lot of times, you know what I mean? So, it's important to say that it's not, you're being foolish, So, we're talking about just being prosperous in all those areas, increasing life in all of those areas. You want big bank accounts, you want excellent health, you want great relationships and lasting memories, and you know what I mean, you want to feel good about what you're doing, spiritual health and giving back. Like, it's a well-balanced life, man, and it takes work. It takes work to balance all of that out. But
yeah, we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves. But so the next piece is, and so that piece will come up. We'll see it. We'll watch and see in these next passages. But the next piece that stood out was, it says, in order to know more, do more, and be more, we must have more, right? We must have things to use, for we learn and do and become only by using things. We must get rich so that we can live more, right? How else will you learn more?
Right.
How else will you experience a healthier life? How else will you experience a more spiritual life? Man, right? You have to do more. You see what I'm saying?
You already know, man. You cannot. You need money to be healthy. I'm gonna just put that out there right now. You can go to. We know this. You can go to McDonald's or anywhere and get something for $1, and it's gonna be horrible for you. But if you go to the store, and get something that's fresh, or you know what I mean, it's actually something that's going to be beneficial for you, that stuff costs a little bit more.
Right.
It costs a little bit more.
Right. Or you need to be able to, if you want to get it from the source, you want to cultivate it yourself, right? Grow the stuff yourself. You need to have the time to do that. You need to be able to buy the seeds. You need to be able to own the land, right? You need to be able to healthy enough to plant the seeds and cultivate the land, and have the time to wait. So in between the time waiting, what you're gonna eat. You see what I'm saying? So it's imperative that we understand that in this life that we live, you have to look at it from that holistic approach, a 360 approach, right? Mind, body, soul. You know what I mean? Next piece right here says, that which makes you want more money is the same as that which makes the plant grow. Wow. You know what I mean? So it is life seeking fuller expression. So that same thing that's in us that wants us to want more, that makes us want more, right? That little inkling in you that says, you know what? I want to lose some weight. You know what? I want to be able to run a marathon. Yeah. You know what? I want to have better relationships with my family. You know what? I want to have, I want to learn a new skill. That same desire that makes you want and desire things, that is life. And that's the same thing that's in the plant. That's the same things that's in animals. That's the same thing that's in everything that makes us want to do more. That's life, right? And that's what the writer is saying. Like, that is life. That's desiring a fuller expression.
Let me point this out though, because one key point in this particular phrase that you highlighted, from the writer's perspective, you have to take note that the word life begins with a capital L.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Almost as if he's saying, like, this is that higher power component. Right. You know what I mean? Like, that is giving you the drive to do those things, so don't. And for me, what I see in that is when you get those ideas, don't take them for granted that, you get that idea to write that book and you never do it. Like, write the book. The world needs it. We need it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's not just for you, it's for other people. I think sometimes, back to the mindset shift thing, sometimes we don't think it's us. We don't think it's supposed to be us. We think you just supposed to sit back and watch other plants grow, watch other people be successful. But you are a part of this life. You know what I mean? And that's just a fact. If you can watch this video and hear what we're talking about you. It's you.
Right.
It's you. You're obligated. If you're alive, you are obligated to grow. And if you're not growing, then you're doing the opposite of that. You know what I mean? So, you need to be working on the latter side. You need to be working on growing and fulfilling those ideas and planting those seeds and nurturing those things so that they grow.
Oh yeah. And that's it was something that you just said that stood out. But just understanding that piece. Yeah. So when you were saying about, like, when you get that idea, you got to understand, whenever we get ideas and stuff like that, and those inklings and those urges, those desires to do something, it's because it's something in the air, or whatever you want to call it, but it's something that's needed in this world, right? And maybe it's you, right? That's supposed to do it, like CD was saying.
Yeah, it brought it to you.
Yeah.
If you don't do it though, somebody else will.
There you go. That's what I was getting at.
We brought it to you first.
That's what I was getting at.
Do this thing. If you don't, somebody else will.
Because it's needed. It's a need. You see what I'm saying? It's a need in our place on this timeline, right, of life. It's a need that's needed, and you're getting that urge to do it. But if you don't, it's like, all right, if you don't do it, I get somebody else to do it. And a lot of one thing that jumps out is in the Bible, where God is saying, like, yo, if you won't praise me, I get the rocks to praise me. You see what I'm saying? And this is what, to me, this is directly related. You see what I'm saying? We're supposed to bring glory. You know what I mean? We're supposed to do things like we're doing it for God, for life, right? That one all-encompassing beginning to end substance or power, right? This here forever and always will be. We're supposed to serve that. How else can we serve it? How else can we praise it? Is by exercising our gifts. And if you don't exercise your gift, Yeah. And if you don't, be successful at exercising your gift, right? If you don't do it, he'll get somebody else that will. And so, like, don't get it twisted. We're supposed to grow. If you choose to sit at home, eat Twinkies, and watch Netflix, and not work in your gift and exercise your gift and succeed in your gift, he'll get somebody else to do it. He'll get somebody else that same idea. And 2, 3, 4, 5 years later, you'll be looking back like, dang, I had that exact same idea.
I wish I woulda, shoulda, coulda.
I wish I acted on it. You know what I mean?
Shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Here goes another one. It is essential, however, that your purpose should harmonize with the purpose that is in all. You must want real life. This is what I was talking about. You want, from the beginning of the chapter, you must want real life, not mere pleasure of sensual gratification. Mm-hmm. Life is the performance of function, and the individual really lives only when he performs every function, physical, mental, and spiritual, of which he is capable without excess in any. Read that again. You pause it and read that again and really meditate on that. Meditate. What you think?
Yo, for me, it's the second sentence. You must want real life, not mere pleasure of sensual gratification. And that to me is the flaw when people achieve like the physical success. When they get the money, it becomes more about the pleasure and the sensual gratification. And then when those things are now taken away from you or you can't sustain them, then you kind of lose essentially like life. You know what I mean? Like you're not happy anymore. You can't sustain the relationships because they weren't real. They weren't a part of the real life. Your mental, you see it all the time, man. And like amongst the celebrities and things like that, mental, depression, things like that come in, and that's because that foundation wasn't based on this. It wasn't about real life. It was about pleasure and sensual gratification. But in all, the important thing I think is that it's the words not mere pleasure of sensual gratification. It doesn't mean that you can't ever experience pleasure or sensual gratification. It just means not only.
Right.
It's about being balanced.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
there
then
you go.
At the bottom, when you double down, he addresses that, the physical, mental, and spiritual, of which you're capable. So it's just you being a well-balanced person and mature. It's just being mature, man. Listen, when you finally do achieve your success, you need to be mature enough to handle it.
Right.
My example of this all the time is I have kids. They're not of driving age. I can't give them the keys to the car until they're actually mature enough to handle it, because at this point in time, it would be for mere pleasure and sensual gratification, and they're gonna be ridiculous out there, and they're just gonna wreck the car immediately, and all of those things. However, when they're mature enough, to handle the object, the success, the money, the whatever it is, then you can still maintain balance. You can still maintain, you're not overwhelmed by just the physical gratification of it. You can still be a balanced person.
And that the key to all of that, what you just said, is balance. 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 Balance, right? Think about nature. Think about the delicate balance that nature operates in, right? Back to the plant example that they opened the chapter with. Think about that one seed, right? It goes through this whole process of from a seed to a seedling to a sprout to a this to a that to it grows into a whole full tree. But what happens? Winter comes, right? The leaves fall off, boom, hit the ground. The leaves provide cover. Why? So that other things can't fall around that tree. Other seeds can't fall around that tree to take nutrients from the roots. Why? Because it's about to go into hibernation. The leaves falling is actually protection. You see what I'm saying? Then you got the apples that had grown on the tree that are designed to do what? Boom, fall off and hit the ground around that tree, right? So there's only more apple trees growing around that original apple tree, right? And then winter comes, boom, you know, it goes it goes dormant, right? And so my point is that you have these seasons, you have that delicate balance. What would happen if the tree was just always producing apples all year long, right? And so nature has that delicate balance. Nature has it right, man. We can learn so much from nature, and it has that balance almost automatically programmed into it, for lack of a better word.
Perfect example.
Yeah, yeah. And it goes through those cycles, right? And just like nature, and we are nature. That's what we got to realize. We're a part of nature. We're a part of this universe. We're a part of this world. We're a critical part of the universe. So why do we think we don't have to abide by the laws of nature? Why do we think that we don't have to take note of the cyclical nature of nature? We have to, right? We can't always be up. We can't always be at a peak, right? We have to understand that it's cyclical, right? We have to understand that there's a balance that has to play. Just as the earth revolves around the sun, we have to take note of the balance. Just as the moon is held at a specific distance, that's just as we're held, and everything works in alignment, and the rain falls and the waves and the everything, right? It's a balance. We get just enough sunlight, we get just enough this, that, and the third. Think about the balance. So it's not about just being materially rich. It's not about just being, you know, this person that gives away everything, right? That's super big on charity and they just give. That's not right either. You see what I'm saying? Or it's not about the person that just learns and gets all of this mental information and they just become super intelligent, but they lack physical health and they lack mental health. You see what I'm saying? So it's about that balance. That's a key thing to what you said, bro.
Good stuff, man. It's a great book. If you have not read the book, make sure you go out and get it, man.
Right.
You don't even have to it's online. Look it up on YouTube. We have the audio versions, everything.
Right. And rounding this episode out, another thing that we have to get clear in our heads is this thought of competition, this competitiveness, right? Do not compete, right? Do not seek to compete. Seek to create. Just like this passage right here says, right? You must get rid of the thought of competition. You are to create, not compete for what is already created. You do not have to take anything away from anyone, right? Think about 10 Commandments. Do not steal, you know, was one of those core things. This is why I really like this book, right? It goes on to say, you do not have to covet the property of others or to look at it with wishful eyes. No man has anything of the which you cannot have the like. So no man has something that you can't have too, at least something similar to it, right? And that without taking what he has away from him. So you don't have to take something away from somebody else just because you want it. No, it's tons of stuff out here that you can go and get too. You don't have to steal from people, or you don't have to be so competitive, right? And envious and jealous, because that's when you get into competition. And nature, you can, in some respects, it's competitive, but not really. It's about creating. Nature is about creating. The natural place we should be in is about creating. Now, you can make the argument, you know, a gazelle is in competition with a lion to outrun them, but we ain't really talking about that, all right? We're talking about creating, okay? You are to become a creator, not a competitor. You are going to get what you want, but in such a way that when you get it, every other man will have more than he has now. So the point of this is to say that if you approach situations and relationships and life from a competitive nature, what happens in a competition? Someone wins, but also someone loses. What it's saying is that you're putting yourself on this, in this zone where you could potentially lose, right? Yes, someone could win, but you could also potentially lose. So why even play on that playing field? Switch to a whole different zone and switch to the creative zone. Become a creator. Create jobs, create relationships, create health, create wealth, right? Don't look to take something from other people, because you know what? You put yourself on that playing field, somebody's going to look at taking something from you. You see what I'm saying? You see anything?
Yeah, simple as that, man. That was put perfectly. The whole lion and gazelle thing, though, in relation to us, we're different, you know what I mean? Because we are, creators in that way, you know what I mean? So we're kind of set aside from the animal kingdom, so to speak. So that is what we do, is create things. Flip right to the page, man. Where you going, dog?
My bad. I was trying to see where we were. I know time is ticking.
Yeah.
But
only thing I saw in here, in this particular passage highlighted, is that, when you are doing what you're supposed to be doing, when you are creating, with that last line there, it will be in such a way that when you get it, everybody else around you will also benefit. Every other man will have more than he has now as well. You don't have to take anything from anybody. And this is why it's your responsibility to be successful in what it is that you're supposed to do, because it's going to add value to not just your life, it's going to increase the whole life of everybody else around you. It should. If your life gets better, then your family's life gets better, and they can, do and be better for themselves and their friends, and you'll spark ideas in other people. It's a ripple effect. So,
right. And let's see what else we got. Another one: riches secure on the competitive plane are never satisfactory and permanent. They are yours today and another's tomorrow, right? Again, this is talking about that being competitive. So riches secured on a competitive plane are never satisfactory or permanent. They are yours today and another's tomorrow, right? And in here, I think he also goes on to talk about how some people, you look around and you be like, well, such and such is like super duper competitive and they did whatever great thing. And it's like, yeah, cool. It happens, but what's actually happening is that they are a part of this whole structure of life too, right? They're actually being used. And they mention people like Carnegie, people like J.J. Hill, back in the day, those were like really super duper competitive people and businessmen back in that day, right? Real cutthroat. But look at what they did. And we'll see this later on in the book, but he talks about how they were actually agents of change, right? It was a good thing, right? Just like the dinosaurs, they were necessary, right? So these tycoons and these multi-billionaires that are like creating all of this stuff, they're actually a good thing. And some of them, just off of their sheer skill at being competitive, has allowed, whatever they created to be created just from their skill. But if you actually look at their personal lives, they live in turmoil, they're depressed, they have all this stuff going on behind the scenes. And that's what the writer's trying to say. Like, look, it's one thing to be, like heavily, rich in material stuff. But again, we need that balance, right? Because you don't want to be super duper rich and then you have thoughts of suicide. You don't want to be super duper rich, but then your health is deteriorating. You can't even walk, from your couch to your refrigerator. You see what I'm saying? And vice versa. You don't want to be super duper pumped and jacked and athletic, but you can't pay your mortgage, you know, or you don't know where your next meal is coming from. You see what I'm saying? So it keeps going back to having that balance, and just understand that people that are like overly competitive put themselves in a place where they could potentially, you know, be a target for the next up and coming person. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, actually, you are the target. Actually,
right.
Let you know that if you are on that competitive plane, the next person that's also competitive, you are their target.
Right.
Literally, you are. They're coming for you.
Right. And then this last one kind of sums it up as to why you don't have to be competitive. So why don't we have to be like these, you know, hyper cutthroat people that's always trying to get over on people, right? It's because of this right here. He says, know that there are countless millions of dollars worth of gold in the mountains of the earth that aren't yet brought to light. Right? Now, this guy wrote this back like hundreds of years ago, right? I can't remember exactly when this book was written. Maybe not hundreds, but like, you know, it was written a while ago. All right. But think about how much gold was discovered since he wrote this book, right? Could you look up when this book was written real quick? That would be interesting to know. But he says, know that there are countless millions of dollars worth of gold in the mountains of the earth not yet brought to light. Then he says, know that the money you need will come, even if it is necessary for 1,000 men to be led to the discovery of new gold mines tomorrow. Never look at the visible supply. Look always at the limitless riches in formless substance. Know that they are coming to you as fast as you can receive and use them. All right? That is really powerful. And I know
1910, by the way, 1910.
1910, and here we are, what, 2022? How many years ago was that? 112 years, something like that. You see what I'm saying? So just imagine how much stuff was discovered since 1910 to now, right? Imagine how much gold, silver, this, that, computers, you know, social, like imagine how much value was created since 1910 when he wrote this or published this book, right? So he's saying, know that there are countless millions of dollars worth of gold in the mountains. And he was speaking this from 1910, right? So we should understand that life, we're not going to have those urges to grow. We're not going to have those desires to do, be, and become more if the infrastructure wasn't already here or the path wasn't already here or the way wasn't already laid out for you. We just have to get in tune with that path and do the work. Just as the seed, you can drop a seed in red clay, Carolina dirt, right? Or you can drop it in, you know, the fertile soils of wherever, or over here, over there, over here, over there. And as long as it has what it needs, it's going to grow. That same seed is going to grow no matter where it is. Life is going to give that seed what it needs. And that's how we have to come to our understanding. We have what we need. You have what you need. You have what you need. You have everything that you need. You just have to believe that you have what you need and get in tune with what you need, because it's already here. And I think that's what he's trying to say. Why? Because it's life. Life wants you to grow. Life wants you to be rich, mentally, spiritually, and physically. So everything that you need to be rich is already here. We just have to tap into it. So as humans, we have to plant ourselves in fertile soil and not plant ourselves on rocks, not cast ourselves, you know, in unfertile ground, not cast our seeds in unfertile ground. And that's all I got to say about this. Powerful stuff, man.
Right, absolutely.
Powerful stuff. You got anything else with this?
Yeah, nothing to add there.
Yeah, man. So with that being said, we're going to end it right there and, you know, keep it moving. So make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. Leave a comment, man. If you read this book, leave a comment about this chapter. Again, this year we're going to be picking back up more regularly with the book club. And again, we're still on the science of getting rich because it's been pivotal, I know, in my life. And I'm sure it'll be pivotal in yours. All right, so signing off, League of Hustlers.